You're never too old to be read to, and there's no such thing as too many books. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the read-alouds that I have picked out for our 2023-2024 school year. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Kimberly. I'm a licensed professional counselor and former middle school guidance counselor turned homeschool mom of one. Here at It's Only Homeschooling, we are all about three things: advocacy, community, and resources to help you homeschool your child with learning differences. We are voracious readers in our home. I think the first book I really remember reading to my son was when he was 6 weeks old, and we have just read ever since. We are huge readers in our family. We take the benefit of audiobooks, we read chapter books, we read everything and anything you can get your hands on. We just devote a lot of time to reading. So a lot of our homeschool curricula are literature-based. We are hybrid homeschoolers. This is our second year as a hybrid homeschool family. So many of the selections that I'm going to show you today are going to be taken from what is suggested from the brick and mortar university model school that my son attends. The others are books that we choose to read on our own. We are also big fans of Mashup Learning, where you take more than one curriculum and you mash them together, also known as sometimes as unit studies. Unit study is a type of mashup learning, but we like to incorporate a lot of our literature or our reading in with whatever we are studying in our chronological timeline. In the past, we have used Story of the World. This year is our second year to be using Veritas press cards. I like to take them and put them in a notebook like this. So when I'm picking out the literature selections that I have picked for this year that I'll show you, they're going to correspond with whatever we are studying that week in history. So you're going to see lots of chapter books and lots of historical fiction. So where do I find my books? A variety of places. We are frequent visitors to our local library. We have several in our area, or sometimes I'm a big fan of thrift books as well, because you always have free shipping, and usually I think it's buy three, get one free. I'm also a big fan of estate sales or garage sales, or when the library has sales. We have a bookstore here that is Friends of the Library, where you can get cast off books, or any type of thrift store, everywhere, I guess is the short answer, the brief answer. I find my books everywhere. I can also use my digital library card online, so you don't have to necessarily buy all these books. There's a plethora of places you can find books. Facebook Marketplace, and also there's tons of read-alouds right here on YouTube. So when I say I do read-alouds, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's my voice that is doing the read-aloud all the time. Throw a rock, hit a YouTube resource for YouTube schooling to help support you in your homeschooling journey. If you've never been here before, thank you so much for stopping by. And if you would like to be a part of this community, please click the like and subscribe button so you will know when new videos arrive. Now, let's get started. I will say, as much as I love to read, sometimes I do get a bit overly ambitious with the amount of books that I have selected here. My son is starting 5th grade, and he reads a lot in general for the rest of his subjects. We also have a lot of extracurricular activities. He's in swim twice a week. We had to drop archery. We have a lot of different occupational and physical therapies that we attend, also other events, and we attend zoo school, and a lot of different volunteering efforts that we do. So we are a bit all over the place. We do listen to a lot of audiobooks in the car, and we do make sure to read together in the evenings. But this list that I'm about to show you is ambitious, and at some point I will have to prioritize, but I will check back in with you to let you know about halfway through the year and at the end of the year what I was able to get through on this list and what I didn't get to and what we plan to do about it. But for now, we also have music. I forgot about that. My son's starting drum lessons soon. My son also has a Books and Bricks hands-on book club for kids. So he has his own book club every month where we pick a book and we read the book together. And then at the end of the month, instead of doing a written book report, we do something a new twist that's more fun. My son uses Legos, one of his favorite things in the world, and he built a creation, either talking about story arc or theme or character, or he just shares his favorite part part of the book. And we post those videos on YouTube. I'll put a link to this up here somewhere, a card, and some information in the description box below if you would like for your child to learn more about that book club. But having said that, we may try to use some of these read alouds as part of that book club. Typically, I just let him pick whatever it is that he enjoys reading, even if it's Captain Underpants, because you know what? Reading is reading. I will say we do tend to read more than one type of book at a time, and that could be anything from a novel to historical fiction to a biography. But because we won't read like two novels at the same time or two historical fictions at the same time, because that can be a little bit confusing with keeping up with it. But reading a book from a different genre, or maybe even some poetry, seems to be pretty easy for us to keep up with. So that is how we tackle lists such as this. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier in the video, we use Veritas Press cards, timeline cards, for our history. In the past, we have used Story of the World. So this year, we are using Veritas Press timeline cards, 1850 to present. So every time I get these cards, every year, I take them and I put them in a binder, just like this, and then some protective sheath coverings, page protectors. So it just makes it so much easier. So that if I want to just take the card out, then I don't have to worry about it getting stained or getting ripped or getting broken or what have you. So when I put my reading selections in order, I put them in order as to whatever era of history or what period of the timeline we are covering at the time, and that's how we read our books. Some of these are going to overlap. Some of these are going to be close to the time period, but maybe not exactly, but it sort of gives a frame of reference. So here is a little flip through with the reading selections that I have picked and the timeline cards that they correspond to. want to mention there are 2 additional books that we will be reading this year, 2 chapter books. These books are assigned by the University Model School, so I'm not sure when we're going to get to them. We will read them whenever it comes up in our syllabus. So the first book is Misty of Chincoteague by Marguerite Henry. I actually read this a few years ago, so I'm excited to read it again. It's a good book. And the second one is, it's technically the 3rd book in the Chronicles of the Narnia series. It's The Horse and His Boy by C.S. Lewis. Last year we read The Magician's Nephew and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and this is the 3rd book in the series. Originally I said I would love to get to the other books this year, but that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So we'll read these whenever the comes up in the syllabus and it's time to read them. A lot of the books that you see here in our list are much thinner books. Like, for example, the Who Was and the What Was series. Those my son can read in 20 minutes. So those are so small. Those may not necessarily be a read aloud on my part. They may simply be a book that I allow him to take to bed. That is one thing so my husband and I can have couples time. We put him to bed a little bit earlier than his regular bedtime, and he is allowed to read for a certain amount of time before he goes to bed. So that lets him stay up just a little bit longer, and he's reading, and we get to reconnect as a couple. So a lot of those books are much thinner, and he can read through them really, really quickly. So those may not necessarily be read alouds that I read to him. The larger chapter books, we will take turns reading, and I will read aloud to him, and there will be audiobooks as well. Okay, as much as we love the timeline cards from Veritas Press, there was one era of history that was omitted. I'm not sure why, but it's important enough in our family that we felt the need to cover it. And I know that they're covering, what is it, from 1815 to present. That's a lot of time to cover. But I still think this era of history was so important that they should have given it a card. And that is the Civil Rights Movement. So I've decided to take it upon ourselves that we are going to read and learn about it here. So I selected some books, and the first book that I've chosen for this time is What Was the March on Washington? It's already in our Who Was series, and it's important enough that I want our son to know. I'm sure there's a lot of things that happen in modern times that are a lot for even upper elementary students to digest and process. So I still think there's a way that they could have presented it. The next book that I've chosen, I got these at a library sale years ago, and I've been waiting to use them. They are pictures of photographs, and nothing tells a story quite like pictures. So the story of Birmingham from the Civil Rights Movement is the first one. And the next one is the story of the Civil Rights, Freedom Riders. Or Freedom Rides, I should say. So those are the books that we are also adding into this list, and if I need to, we can cut out some of the others to cover this subject area. We just feel it is that important. Nothing against Veritas Press. I wasn't there when they made the cards, but I would like to at least introduce the subject now. Totally forgot another resource that I plan to use also that would make it easy, and I get to hear the wonderful melodic soothing voice of Jim Weiss when I do it, is we still have all of our Story of the World materials. I kept all of them because I thought that's what we were going to continue with our history studies. However, we switched to the University Model School, and they prefer Veritas Press. So we can pick out Story of the World Volume 4 and go to chapter 36. And in this chapter it talks about struggles and assassinations, and they talk about John F. Kennedy, and they talk about civil rights in this chapter. So that will be a little bit of the meat. That will be our Veritas Press card. So more Mashup Learning, winning. So that is it. My ridiculously ambitious list of read alouds for the 2023-2024 academic school year in our homeschool. Let me know what read alouds you're going to do in your homeschool this year. Also, do you use Mashup Learning? If so, let me know what you mash together in your Mashup Learning. What programs do you combine? And if you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe. Maybe consider subscribing to my channel so that you'll know when new videos arrive. And if you click on the card that I've got up here somewhere, it will let you know about other videos that I've got coming up in this series. In the meantime, remember, education is a journey, not a destination. Relax. It's only homeschooling. Have a great year. Bye.